Good morning, Vietnam! I'm not Robin Williams, but I am just as hairy. Truth Dog, Woof Woof. Really been phoning in those intros. I save it all for the outro, you know what I mean? Something to keep the sheep watching till the end, right? Maybe I shouldn't have this on my lap. Oh well. You know, there's earthquakes in Australia now. So that whole Yanny and whoops, I promised myself I wouldn't say it again. It'll be in the title. I'll just abbreviate Y and L. That whole thing. I should have made this video like when it was trending, because like no one cares about that anymore. But I had a pretty weird experience with that whole thing. I'll try to make this a short video for first time in my life. 30 minutes later. Yeah, so that Y and L thing. In case you didn't hear about it, it was like a trending thing a couple of weeks back, where there's like the sound clip and it plays a voice, a word, and people heard one. Basically, they heard one word or the other. They either heard the word that started with Y. I'll do rhyming. The one that started with Y, it was like Fanny. It was like that. And the one that started with the L was like Boral. Okay, so people were more or less hearing one or the other. And now I hadn't heard about this at the time. I was house sitting for my mum, I'm just saying that to dispel the idea that I live with my parents, because I don't. Okay. What's that, Grandma? No, I'm making a video. Yeah, so I was house sitting for me mom. Had a friend over, me only friend really, and she's more involved in social media than I am, which is to say, she's involved in social media. So we're watching something. And at one point she goes, "Oh, have you heard about that Y and L thing?" And of course I hadn't. And I said no. And then because we tend to argue and disagree about most things that are popular, she immediately goes, okay, never mind, forget I brought it up. But that to me just makes me even more curious. So I'm like, no, what is it? Tell me. And she goes, oh, okay. And she explains it to me. And then I go, all right, play it for me. She goes, oh, it's so stupid. It's so obvious what it says. So she plays it for me, and you hear the voice twice, and I'm like, she's like, what did you hear? And I go, Fanny, and she's like, really? I'll play it again, and she plays it again like 2, 3, 4 times for me, and I keep saying, yeah, I heard the one that starts with Y, and she's going, are you kidding? And I go, are you kidding me? I go, what do you hear? And she plays it. And again, like, I'm not using the actual words because I'll get to why it might be in the title. But she plays it again for me, and she goes, Boral. And I'm looking at her like she's a stranger now. I'm like, you're kidding me, right? And it goes back and forth. Eventually, like, it becomes like this huge dispute. It escalates very quickly, mainly due to me, being the real person with emotions and paranoid schizophrenia. No, but I'm like, okay, this seals it. You're not a real person. You're an organic portal. There's no way. This is totally a test to see whether people are real or not. And there's no way I can be hearing something that you can't be hearing. And like I said, I want you to get out of here. I want you to go home. I'm taking you home right now. And she just disagrees. She goes, I'm not going anywhere, blah, blah, blah. I go, you are. So she wouldn't leave. So she eventually like goes off to one of the rooms and just sort of locks herself in there. In the meantime, I just do my research on it because I'm sure, I'm like, I know there's a way to prove that only like woke people hear what I hear. So I'm looking it up, and I find like all this stuff that's from like fluff pieces on nightly news and all that sort of crap. And the one interesting thing I found just in my hour of little research about this whole friggin' Illuminati psyop is that even the people who hear what I hear, they never even pronounce it how it sounds, which rhymes with Fanny. That's exactly how it sounds, except with a Y instead of the F. They pronounce Yeah, well, I hear Yanny, and it's like, how do you hear Yanny when it's, yeah, like, ugh, ugh. No one who, even the people who agreed with me were disagreeing with me. And I think that plays into something which I'll get to hopefully soon. But anyway, after about an hour, it's like, it's too late at night. I said, listen, it's too late to take you home anyway. We might as well just make the most of the night. Let's try and forget about this stuff, blah, blah, blah. So we go sit down, we watch like pay TV. I don't usually watch TV, but like I said, it wasn't my house, so there was like Oz pay TV connected. So find Jerry Maguire, because I haven't seen it before. I'm like, I love watching movies that I can make fun of. That's like, I really only watch anything to make fun of it. It's like, most things are stupid. Yeah, anyway, so like watching that movie, and oh man, is that a gay movie? It's like Tom Cruise is clearly gay, right? And like, he's like really small too. But what I found interesting in the casting is that they choose to cast Cuba Gooding Jr. as the black guy, because black guys are like seen by everybody as like more tough and official and like real men compared to white dudes. So they cast like the smallest, most effeminate black dude ever to play off Tom Cruise. So Tom Cruise ends up looking straight. So it's so weird. And there's like it's like the story. Hopefully, I'm not spoiling it for anybody. But like, he like marries Renee Zellweger's character just basically, I don't know, to look straight. I think that's the subtext. And then he spends like most of the movie in like men's locker rooms or something. And it's like, yeah, it's just like a really gay movie. So anyway, we were watching that, and in between making fun of it, like that whole Y&L thing kept coming up because like it just did. And like we kept saying it over and over and again, like saying those words over and over. At one point, my friend even showed me, like, to prove her side of the argument. She showed me that the clip actually originates from like it's like the database for first names, and the one that starts with L. When you go to click on that, that's the sound file, the natural voice sound file. That actually, when you play it, and it's the one that starts with L, it is it plays the clip where I hear the Y word, right? And yeah, like even that. So I'm like thinking, okay, the whole like Y and L thing is clearly some kind of it's a psyop. It's obviously designed to make people argue and create all this negative energy for the reptilian matrix and all that stuff. And it's obviously a way of gaslighting, and it's a way of encouraging conformity. You can only imagine like a child at school or a person in a workplace, they want to fit in, and all their OP and rep co-workers are saying they hear the L word, and anyone who doesn't hear the L word is crazy. So they have to be like, yeah, I hear the L word too, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that's one thing. And also it gives ammunition for psychopaths to be like, say their partner hears the Y word and they hear the L word. Not the TV show, by the way. I'm obviously talking about, the thing. So like they go out and they come home really late, and their partner's like, why are you back so late? You told me that you'd be back, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I didn't say that, babe. I said I'd be back in the morning. Oh, see, this is because you don't listen. Because you heard that Y word, not the L word. You just say, I don't know, there's something wrong with your hearing, babe. So anyway, yeah. By the way, I'm doing this video maybe a little bit foolishly because I've been told that there's going to be a delivery today, but they don't specify what time. That's totally a reptilian trick, by the way. So at any time, because reptilians are flow breakers, they could arrive and totally bust up this perfect video that I'm making. So I'll get to it quick. So anyway, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And what I actually think is the ultimate purpose of this thing is it's to separate the wheat and the chaff. At least from, government spy perspective, they're always looking at everybody trying to determine. The people who hear the Y word, I honestly believe, are real people, are of God. They're the woke ones, you know what I mean? The people who hear the L word, the OPs and the reps and all the low vibration people, because the frequency of the clips, it even comes down to this. The frequency of the clips, the one that's starts with Y, which is all I can hear, no matter how many times they like distort the audio or whatever, all I hear is the Y word. That's at a higher frequency, and that's a higher vibration, which means that I resonate with a higher frequency and a higher vibration, and therefore only hear the higher sounds. People who vibrate a higher frequency are open to information downloads. They just know things. You know what I mean? They have good intuition and whatnot. And whereas the one that starts with L, which is what the majority hear, not surprisingly, the ones that hear that's a lower frequency. It's Boral. That's what they hear. So that's at a low frequencies, therefore low vibrational people who are not of God, I believe, can only hear that. And it even comes down to the definition. Now, I should have looked at this right before, but at the time I did look into what the words mean. And the original meaning for the one that starts with Y, Y-A-N-N-Y, it's basically, the gist of the meaning is that it's true loving God, person who is, believes in God. And the one that starts with Laurel, the definition of that is basically like, I'm paraphrasing big time here, but heathen. You know what I mean? So that goes into it as well. That's why I think. And by the way, if you haven't heard it, I wouldn't necessarily recommend going out, because there's definitely something satanic about it. But if you did hear it, I'd like to know which voice you heard, because if you pieces of shit heard anything but Y-A-N-N-Y, I'm going to block you, okay? You OPs, I don't trust you. So anyway, yeah, so like we're saying this over and over and over throughout the night. We're saying all this stuff. And like throughout the night, we're hearing these strange noises. And granted, it's not the house I live in, so I'm not privy to all the whatevers. But we started hearing strange noises that we couldn't explain. Both of us were hearing them. For once, both of us were hearing the same thing. We're hearing like all these strange like scratching sounds, crawling sounds like across the ceiling. At one point we heard like slamming doors, bam, bam, bam. I thought it was my cat, because he was staying there too. So I got up to look for him, but he was on the couch with us. I just didn't realize. So it wasn't him. And there weren't any doors that were closed. So maybe it was in another house, but we both said that sounded exactly like it came from over there. Like it sounded like it was in the house. Heard slamming doors. We're watching this great movie, Jerry Maguire. And at one point, now here's where all my credibility goes down the drain. And this is like, I'm telling this story that's like meant to be like really scary and all that, but I'm not really doing a good job of it. So I'll mainly focus on the facts here. We're watching Jerry Maguire, and at one point my friend hears this scurrying sound. She says, "What's that?" She looks. I didn't hear a sound this time, but I look into the hallway. It's it's about I'm using Australian measurements here. It's like about 10-20 meters away. I literally see this furry, maybe like a Yeti thing, but with like golden honeycomb sort of patterned fur, run across the hallway like really fast. And I've never seen anything that was supernatural like that. And I'm like, my jaw drops. I'm like, "Did you see that?" And she's like, "No, what?" I said, "There was like a monster that just ran past." And she said, "I didn't see a monster, but I heard something weird." I said, "I didn't hear anything, but I saw something." And at that point we were like freaking out. Both of us were freaking. Decided basically, okay, we're getting all the stuff. Screw my mom. I'm going home. We're going home. We're out of here. So like over the course of the night, we got our stuff together. I actually used my cat as like one of those mine canaries, because like I had to get stuff from like a room that was adjacent to the hallway that I saw this creature in. So I'm using my cat like to peer across the hallway. Like if he gets startled, I'm going to run. But if he remains calm, I'll know that I can go into the room. And got all our stuff and went out of there. And as soon as we got back here, noticed immediately like the energy and the vibe of the house was so much clearer, and then we realized how evil the vibe was there that night. And my friend actually said something which is like the whole point of this whole video, that it could have been that by saying those names, the point of that video was for people to constantly say those names through argument, negative energy, and by using the words, it might be a form of spell casting or a way to evoke like evil demonic spirits into reality, bring them into fruition through negative energy. And I thought, yep, that would be like probably the only way to explain it. That's what would happen in the X-Files episode that we just lived. So that's one of the things. That's why I say, like, that's why I'm trying not to say the words anymore, because I really do believe that they could be, that whole thing could have been not only a psyop, but a way to evoke evil energy and spirits and monsters into this realm. And it goes along with what I was saying earlier about how when I was doing my research, even the people who heard what I heard couldn't say it the way it was. You know what I mean? And that might be because they're actually demonic and they don't want to use a word that has positive energy. I don't know. But still, there's something there. So that's my little, I don't know, ghost story, whatever it was. Only 2 weeks late. At least I'll avoid all the sheeple doing the, Google searches, because they're on to the next thing, whatever it is, the next site. But yeah, that happened. That was scary. And like I said, let me know which one you heard, and let me know your own experiences with this if you were unfortunate enough to come into contact with this little psyop or whatever it was. But yeah, that's the video. Hope you learned something. Hope you had fun. Truth Dog out. Woof woof. I can do that better. So. Woof woof.